Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started then. All right, so thank you and welcome to coming. Today is my guide to grocery shopping, and grocery shopping is important because you can have all the knowledge in the world about nutrition. You can know exactly what to do to build muscle and lose fat, but if it doesn't end up onto your table and on your plate, you're not going to be effective at achieving your fitness goals. So this is where the practical application of nutrition comes into play. I'm going to talk about creating and using a grocery list, navigating the store, comparing different things between products in the store, and then give you guys some shopping tips. So first and foremost is you want to create a shopping list. Now, when I say create a shopping list, this can mean different things to different people. You can be flexible or you can be very strict. Do what works for you. Plan ahead 1 to 2 weeks, or realistically, what you should do is plan ahead for however many times you visit the grocery store. So if you go twice a month, you should plan for 2 weeks in advance. If you go once a week, then just plan for a week in advance. Consider using MyFitnessPal. Okay, it said my audio wasn't working. Can you still hear me? Okay, good. I think that was just a bug there. Consider using MyFitnessPal and allrecipes.com, or in other words, looking through recipe books, looking through your nutrition guide program to kind of help you develop a list, and keep a list on your refrigerator. The reason for this is when you use something up, you can just jot it down so you don't forget later. And stick to the list. You know, so many times we see sales and other things that we think we need, and we end up just ending up with junk in our refrigerator and in our cabinet. So you've created your list and you've thought about it. You've maybe planned some new recipes, and you've taken care of all of your prep work before you go to the store. So a general idea of when you're navigating the store is to start at the perimeter. In other words, walk around the edge of the grocery store first. This is where you're going to have your fruits and vegetables, your meats, your dairy, usually your whole grain bakery aisle, those sorts of things. And the processed foods are kept in the aisles. So end in the aisles. That way you fill up your cart with the healthiest stuff first. And remember that whole foods are best. Okay, so what is a whole food? Whole foods are unprocessed and unrefined, or have been processed or refined as little as possible, usually a single ingredient food. So this means that fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, unprocessed meats, fish, unprocessed dairy, like the whole food single ingredient. Like when you think of something like milk, that's a single ingredient, okay? So I want you guys to fill up your cart with those things first, and then go through the aisles after that. And that's good if you've been doing that already. It means that you got a leg up here in the nutrition game. Okay, when you compare foods, this is a trick that can save you guys some money. So when you're looking at the price, if you look at the price tag, the big price, it just shows how much it costs per that container. If you look down in the corner of that price list, it'll say how much you're paying per ounce or per unit of weight for that. So you may look at something and it looks like it costs cheaper, but you may be paying 20 cents per ounce, while the product next to it you may be paying 15 cents per ounce. So that's a way to save some money and get more bang for your buck when you're at the store. Flip that food over and look at the nutrition value. Take a look at the fiber, the protein, the calorie content of that food when you're shopping, to compare between what's going to be a better choice for you. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it should be, being high or low in one thing or the other. You need to choose according to your goals. You can find those goals out by either researching or by getting with, for example, like me, a dietitian who can tell you that. Organic food. So here's my 2 cents on organic foods. I haven't ever seen any research that shows that an organic tomato has more nutrients, more vitamins and minerals than a non-organic tomato of a similar species of plant. But here's the thing. Organic foods often look better because of the way that they're taken care of. They often taste better, and this is, of course, my opinion, and they cost a little bit more money. So you can weigh out the pros and cons between organic and non-organic. Non-organic usually has the same nutrients, but usually a little lower quality taste and look. Okay, so if it tastes good and if it looks good, you'll usually be more likely to eat it. Okay, so we'll come back to that, but let's touch on nutrition value because I said compare your foods by nutrition value when you're at the store. Nutrition value of food is what the food provides to your body. For example, calories, carbohydrates, all those sorts of things. You can find that on the back of the label, and you want to favor nutrient-dense foods as opposed to calorie-dense foods. So find things that are low in calories but have a lot of vitamin A, vitamin C, protein, and fiber, and try not to choose too many things that are just high in sugars, fat, junk calories. So you want to get more bang for your buck when you're choosing foods. So to explain that concept in a little bit more detail, nutrient dense versus calorie dense. Nutrient dense foods give you a sufficient amount of calories, let's see, while also giving you important vitamins and minerals, and then calorie dense foods provide a large amount of calories and a lesser amount of other nutrients. So we can see here on the left we have some meat patties with some vegetables. So we're getting a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, a lot of vitamins and minerals. On the right we have looks like fair food and hamburgers, hot dogs, French fries. These things are going to give you a lot of calories, but you're going to be hard pressed to find any fiber in there, any vitamin C, any things that your body really needs that you get concerning vitamins, minerals, and also a class of food property chemicals called phytonutrients, which are also important for you. But we're not going to get into too much detail on that. Just know that whole foods are normally more nutrient dense, and processed foods, or what you may call junk foods, are normally not going to have those sorts of things. Okay, the organic debate. Some foods to buy organic are anything without a shell or a peel. Okay, I know my voice is a little choppy right now. Hopefully that will subside. We'll go ahead and go through. If you need to log out, log back in, you can. But we'll go ahead and continue. Okay, we're good. Foods to buy organic, anything without a shell or a peel. Things like apples, grapes, lettuce, meat, dairy. The kinds of things that you're not going to be able to rinse off if it does have some pesticides and some chemicals on it, and some foods that you don't necessarily need to buy organic are things that come in a shell or a peel. For example, if you spray a banana with pesticides, well, you're not eating the peel of the banana, so normally you're good. And that's just the general thought. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, but this is a good rule of thumb that you guys can apply if you do choose to buy organic foods. I never really press this very hard for my clients because they are more expensive and price can be a deterrent to having people buy more fruits and vegetables. But you can make that choice, and if you do want to buy organic, you can use this as a guideline. Okay, so some shopping tips is number one, don't shop while you're hungry. This is a terrible idea, and I'll tell you what, I have thrown many junk food items in my grocery cart when I'm going shopping when I'm hungry because I realize I don't have anything in the refrigerator. Eat a snack before you go. It will save you a lot of willpower in the long run. Check food labels for high protein content. Remember that protein helps rebuild muscle and helps keep you full. And also try to avoid high carbohydrate content as well. And the reason for this is that carbohydrates are found in abundance in almost a majority of the things we eat in the typical American diet. So you don't want to eat things that also have additional carbohydrates in them as well, because you're just going to get extra calories when you need to be focusing more on protein and less on calories. So, not saying carbohydrates are bad, just avoid things that are high in sugar or things that just have a lot of extra breading on them and high carbohydrate sides, for example. Okay, so let's navigate each aisle in the grocery store together, and then I'll open it up for questions and we can go from there. So when shopping for produce, aside from the organic versus non-organic debate, is anticipate spoilage. So some things are going to spoil. If you're shopping 2 weeks in advance, then you need to consider maybe getting some frozen produce, and it's just as healthy as fresh produce. Frozen is. And a pro tip here is that if you like leafy greens, spinach lasts longer than lettuce in the refrigerator. Convenience products, pre-cut foods like pre-diced pineapple is a little bit more expensive, but it's also more likely to be consumed. Oftentimes, if you get some of those whole foods that have to be chopped up, that can be a deterrent to consumption, and you may want to get something chopped up if you can afford to splurge a little bit more on the price. And also, one thing I recommend when you're in the produce aisle is to try something new. Maybe if you're with your family, excuse me, or you're with your kids, have them pick out a fruit that they've never had before, or maybe try some rutabaga. Try putting some radish in your salad, or if you have never cooked with parsnips before. Just try something new. Just keep an eye out for new things. Okay, now we get to the bakery, and you want to shop for whole grains versus refined grains. In other words, this is where the fiber content comes in. So you want to look for the words 100% whole grain, multi-grain, those sorts of things. But always check the back for the fiber content. Usually something for 3 or more grams of fiber is a good choice, but you're really shopping by comparison. So if I have one thing that only adds 0 grams of fiber, another that adds 2, well, yeah, we would rather have 3 or more, but go ahead and just choose the one that has the higher fiber content. And finally, here's just a tip from me. There's these low-carb tortillas that you'll see sometimes. They're high fiber, low carbs. They're usually less than 100 calories and 10 or more grams of fiber. So that can really help you guys get your fiber allotment and eat low calories. You can make a wrap out of these. You can make a burrito, and tends to be really good. Okay, meat and deli aisle. So now we're at the meat and deli, and the leanest meats are going to be chicken breasts, 93.7 ground beef or turkey, pork tenderloin, and then of course your white shrimp, fish, scallops, and lobster. I'm not saying that the other meats are bad, that you can never buy chicken thighs or sausage, but if you want to get the highest amount of protein with the lowest amount of calories, you want to choose lean meats. When you're at the deli, the lowest calorie deli meats are going to be chicken, turkey, and lean ham. And then your reduced fat cheeses and Swiss cheese is naturally leaner than some of the other cheeses. Also, if you look at the store brand versus a more expensive brand like the Primo Taglio brand or Hormel brand, usually if it's a little bit more expensive, you're getting less fillers and less preservatives in those, which if that's something you want to watch out for, there's a tip for you. Okay, now we get to the dairy aisle. I want to talk a little bit about milk versus imitation milk. Number one, there's nothing wrong with cow's milk. Some people say that cow's milk is meant for baby cows and not meant for human. That's a logical fallacy by natural using a natural thing as it being correct or not. You can't just say because it's natural or not natural means that it's healthy or not healthy. We have to look at it individually. And the fact is that a very high percentage of women over the age of 50 will develop osteoporosis. And after you're 30 years old, you start losing peak bone mass for the rest of your life. And so with it's kind of a new trend with dairy and cow's milk being bad for you. If that trend really takes hold and catches on, we will expect to see in the epidemiological research that there will be higher instances of osteoporosis and osteopenia as people eat less and less calorie-dense foods. So with that being said, it really comes down to preference because there's not one study to show that one thing is positive or negative in one way or the other. Trust me, I've looked at it extensively. There's nothing wrong with cow's milk. It is a natural source of calcium. You can choose 2% or less milk. You want to choose things that generally have less fat because that's going to be less calories. Or if you want to choose an imitation milk, which is often fortified in calcium, so nothing to worry about there, choose an unsweetened version. you're going to buy soy milk, don't get the vanilla sweetened soy milk or the chocolate soy milk. Get the unsweet so that you're not adding a lot of extra sugars and carbohydrates. Okay, moving on. Cheese. Choose a 2% reduced fat or a fat-free cheese, and this will help you get more protein and save calories. Cheese is actually one of the most calcium-dense forms of food, and um, and will help you get a lot of calcium as well. Yogurt. Okay, so here's a pro tip on yogurt. Regular yogurt is high in sugar. It's a lot higher in sugar than it is in any other nutrients. And Greek yogurt is high in protein. But if you get the Greek yogurt that has honey added to it, it can also add up a lot of sugar too. So here's my tip for you guys: is get a Greek yogurt, a plain non-fat, which is very high in protein. You can actually use this without anything added to it as a sour cream substitute. And I swear that it tastes just like sour cream. And I'm picky about that stuff. But take your green yogurt, your Greek yogurt, and add artificial sweetener to it, like a stevia or a Splenda or a Sweet and Low or something like that to add some sweetness to it. And then you can add a little bit of a flavor enhancer like vanilla extract or almond extract. And now what you have is you have a high protein Greek yogurt without a lot of extra sugar added to it. And then you can add some fruit in there, maybe some berries or something like that to give it a little bit more pleasant texture. And finally, coffee creamer. A lot of my clients like coffee creamer, and I swear that people don't like the taste of coffee. They like the taste of coffee creamer with a little bit of coffee in it. Check the label. If you're going to use a lot of coffee creamer, check the labels for a lowest calorie per serving. Usually this is going to be the sugar-free, but this is where you're going to spend some time at your favorite grocery store comparing labels. So try to find something that's, uh, 30, 20, 15 calories or less per serving, as opposed to, some of those things can be 40 or 50 calories per serving, a lot higher. Okay. When it comes to the aisles, don't worry about salt unless you have high blood pressure. Okay, unless your doctor has told you need to worry about salt, don't worry about, eating a can of vegetable soup that's like super low in calories and will help fill you up, as opposed to, eating something else that's higher calories. So don't worry about that. Avoid highly processed foods and convenient snack foods. The reason for this is if it's convenient, if it's easy, and if it's really delicious, it's going to be hard to stop at the correct amount. So usually if you control your grocery list and keep these things out of your cart, you'll be in a better position. Compare the labels once again for calories, fiber, and protein, and variety is your friend. Choose different things. Don't be afraid to flip the food over and check the back. And as you can see here in my picture example, here is a macaroni and cheese box that uses whole wheat shells as opposed to the refined grains. So you can find a little bit of nutrition in things that you may think that may be total junk food, even like macaroni and cheese, if you just look around a little bit as well. Okay, so now I'll open it up for any questions, concerns, or doubts about our guide to grocery shopping. Okay, Mason, you got any questions? All right, well, if you have any questions, feel free. Okay, you have a question about almond milk? Almond milk versus regular milk. Well, if you get unsweetened almond milk, I do believe it is a lot lower in calories per cup. I think it's unsweetened is 30 calories per cup, and a glass of skim milk is going to be 90 calories per cup. So if you're just adding it and you're already getting sufficient calcium in your diet, you can go with the lower calorie one. There's nothing wrong with that. So you can get a little more bang for your buck if you're really trying to cut calories. Typically for adult males who exercise, you don't have to get that nitpicky about calories. Usually just a reduction in portion sizes and cutting back on some of the oils and stuff will be fine. But it really boils down to preference. Choose where you want to cut your calories and do that accordingly. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Let's see. Any more questions before I conclude? Well, I'll tell you what, if you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me a message and I'll get back to you, hopefully answer in sufficient detail. And just let me wrap up by saying that grocery shopping is very important. It's not something to be taken lightly if you're really trying to focus on your nutrition. Once again, start with a list, navigate the perimeter of the store, and try to choose things that are nutrient dense, whole foods, and sparingly, in moderation, having some of the sweets, having some of the processed, quote unquote, junk foods. Those are fine. It's fine to have those. It's fine for kids to have those, but they need to have a diet that's at least 80% coming from nutrient dense foods, minimally processed, and things that you would generally consider healthy. Alright guys, my name is Tony Paradis, licensed dietitian, personal trainer, and owner of Food and Fitness. Thanks for checking out my guide to grocery shopping. You can check out my website at foodandfitnessonline.com. If you go here in the notes, I also have a list of our nutrition classes. We have one every 2 weeks. If you go on the main page, you'll see that. Pull up there, you can see our list of nutrition classes. So save those in your calendar. Go ahead and go and do that now and save for our next one. And get a copy of my free ebook, which is also located in the notes here and on my website at Food and Fitness Online. Real quick, Mason asks, have you ever tried one of the Skinny Cow ice creams? Is it worth it? Heck yeah, I think so. It's only 150 calories for one of those, and it really satisfies my sweet tooth. If you go on my other YouTube videos and you check out my beer and ice cream diet, I had a beer almost every night along with a Skinny Cow ice cream sandwich, and I was able to cut to around 10% body fat or below. And you can see my testimonial there. Alright guys, I'm going to conclude this. Tony Paradis with Food and Fitness. Thanks for checking out my guide to grocery shopping, and hope to see you guys for my next nutrition class in 2 weeks. Thanks.